Hi everyone, I'm Barrister Hamna Zain and today I'm going to talk about human rights and business. So how these two are connected and what is the relevance and how these two are actually being implemented in our society and in in the business organizations. So we hear the word human rights quite a lot these days. It's very common. And what exactly? So basically we need to firstly understand what exactly is human rights. So human rights is the basic freedom that protect us all. So that protects every citizen, and whether it's in Pakistan or internationally, it's like a global right that everybody has a right to life, right to freedom, right to trade, so on and so forth. However, when we say that business and human rights, so in Pakistan recently a national action plan has been formulated, which is a 5-year plan, and what the government is actually doing is trying to implement and work towards the human rights that have been violated through the organization. Human rights, now these two things are connected and it's not been very widely practiced, but fortunately our government is trying to work on bringing an action plan and it will be implemented and executed by all the organizations, whether it's a small organization, it's a big organization, it's semi-government, it's a government organization. So they are going to work towards this. Now business and human rights की जब हम बात करते हैं, that means कि सारी जो भी companies हैं, all the organizations which we have in Pakistan, they should have a corporate social responsibility. And when we say corporate social responsibility, we mean that there should be laws, there should be rules, there should be policies जो कि आपके वर्कर्स को प्रोटेक्ट कर रहे हैं, जो वर्कर्स आपकी फैक्ट्री में काम करते हैं उनकी हेल्थ एंड सेफ्टी से रिलेटेड, एंड देयर शुड बी लॉज एंड so how your business is being affected. Now number one, mainly essentially what I've seen is in how human rights are violated in any organization. Now let me just put it in very simple words. Number one, where there's discrimination, so we see that a lot. There's a lot of discrimination. Equal opportunity nahi milti hai, women do not get equal opportunity. There's the women protection laws are very rarely being practiced in any organization. Then there is occupational hazard, which is mostly found in factories, जो कि workers वगैरह बहुत ज़्यादा देखते हैं अपनी जगह पे. उनके पास कोई पॉलिसीज प्रॉपर इम्प्लीमेंटेशन नहीं है कि उनकी हेल्थ सेफ्टी, जो टॉक्सिक फ्यूम्स दे आर inhaling, how toxic is it. So all these environmental related issues that organizations are not really working towards. And number third is child labor. So child labor is a very common practice, and we need to see that these workers and the people in the factories, whether they are, so when we say child labor, so child labor में सबसे पहले आपका आ जाता है कि आप एज देखें कि उनकी एज क्या है, लीगली क्या एज होनी चाहिए, आप छोटे बच्चों से काम नहीं करवा रहे. Then there is a minimum wage, of course. A lot of companies, a lot of factory workers, a lot of security guards, a lot of people who don't even come close to the minimum wage. And minimum wage is different for each provinces. So we'll talk about that. But firstly, as a business, you do need to know what it means to an organization when we say that human rights are a set of basically principles that define how people should be treated. So they shouldn't be used as for example, for every person there is a right to life, as I said, there's a right to healthcare, there's a right to land. United Nations have developed a 5-year policy, NAP formulation plan, जिसके अंदर there are 3 fundamentals that need to be practiced. So first is that protection. The state, number one is state is duty bound to protect the organization. So they are duty bound to protect the people and protect whether the human rights are being practiced or not. So Pakistan has various laws in place. For example, डिस्क्रिमिनेशन पे लॉज है आपके वर्क प्लेस हरासमेंट, मिनिमम वेज, फोर्स लेबर, एलिमिनेशन ऑफ चाइल्ड लेबर, करप्ट प्रैक्टिसेस, एंटी ब्राइबरी लॉज, एंड देन देयर इज अनलॉफुल लैंड arrangement, and then tax evasion. So these are the things that are actually applicable for any organization. So number one, UN guiding principle says कि state needs to protect these rights, the rights that I have listed. Now we do have a lot of laws, but whether they are being implemented, whether they are being practiced according to the UN policies or not, that's a problem. So number 2 is that corporations should be responsible to respect so human rights. So first was the state is duty bound to protect, and then the second is that corporation should is responsible to respect human rights. So respect is very important. Now what does this mean when we say respect? So every corporation has such laws so you have laws basically. For example, if I give you an example of workplace harassment laws against women, so protection against workplace, so there's a 2010 law. Now the question is कि बहुत सारे organizations इस तरह की हैं जो ये laws practice नहीं कर रही हैं. Companies really do not have a code of ethics policy. They don't have an internal inquiry committee. If a woman is being harassed or she's facing such problems like being bullying or threatening, so she doesn't know how to raise a complaint. So that's one of the problems. Internal committees are missing, the code of ethics policies, there are no trainings, there are not enough training. So this law is not being practiced by the corporations as per the law and as per the UN policy. So UN guiding principle, the second principle pillar that says that corporations need to respect human rights. That's very important. That's where the corporation needs to practice the minimum wage policy, elimination child labor, the bringing the laws of harassment into their organization and letting their employees know what they exactly how to file complaints against those. Now third pillar is third pillar is the remedy. So what are the remedies? Now challenge सबसे बड़ा जो पाकिस्तान में we are facing is litigation. Litigation is not timely. Litigation is not timely due to a lot of reasons, but mainly because there are so many cases. There have been backlog of cases, which is why the cases are not being heard timely, and therefore there is a delay. So these are the three principles. Now one was protect, there was respect, and the third is the access to remedy. So when workers in factory, for example, I told you that they breathe toxic fume, that's when human rights are violated. When a manager is only employing somebody who's of the same race, same caste, same religion, and same gender, that is violating the right of equal treatment. And when businesses buy land without consulting communities, that's how communities are being affected, which is violating the right to property. So adopting these practices where a business is adapting a human rights policies as per UN guidelines, that is going to help. So when you're adopting human rights in your organization, which is business human rights, and we call it BHR. So when you practice that, it helps your business flourish because it helps the customer grow as well. It helps your business grow, and obviously it's the right thing to do. So now the solutions that I'm going to propose is that how an organization can adopt these the guidelines which have been given by UN, and what are the solutions. So number one is a policy commitment in place to respect human rights. So there should be a policy that can respect human rights. That means that you should implement a policy in your organization and make sure that all your employees know how to practice that, how to file a complaint, how to ensure that these practices are widely practiced. Number two, an ongoing human rights due diligence in place. So ongoing due diligence, very important. What you need to actually do is you need to look into your organization, do some research, have some meetings, discussions internally or externally, and have a dialogue with your people, with the employees, with the customers, that what exactly is not okay, and then you need to ensure that due diligence is widely. So this is not a one-off. You can't just have a आप एक दफ़ा due diligence नहीं कर सकते. You have to do it again and again. It's an ongoing process. So make sure that all these laws and policies are intact and being practiced in, for example, your factory, in your department, in your organization, for even people who are placed outside the building. So that means security guard as well. And number three is a process that enables them to remedy this related human resources harm. So these are the three solutions. Now Now, when we talk about these solutions, we need to actually see and identify and assess impact. So, what is the impact? Impact क्या है इसमें? The impact we need to take into account कि कहाँ पे problem है. For example, किसी organization में किसी organization में वर्क प्लेस हरासमेंट लॉज की इम्प्लीमेंटेशन हो ही नहीं रही है, किसी कंपनी में कोई कोड ऑफ एथिक्स है ही नहीं, सो इंटरनल कमिटी नहीं है, इंक्वायरी कमिटी नहीं है, सो इफ अ वुमन इज बीइंग हरास्ड शी हैज़ नो आइडिया, नो क्लू वेयर शी हैज़ टू गो. सो दैट इज़ वेयर यू नीड टू आइडेंटिफाई एंड असेस इम्पैक्ट्स एंड फिल इन द गैप. सो आप उसमें better understanding of the workers, of the people that are actually facing these problems, have a, as I said, research and dialogue. It could be internal, it could be external, and understanding working conditions of your workers. So that's very important. For example, there in a factory, you need to see whether the health practices are being properly defined or not. And one of other solution is that you need to integrate the findings. So integrate the findings, what does this mean? Now business needs to act. An organization or a company, they need to act upon the findings of the impact. For example, जिस organization में workplace पर harassment की कोई policy नहीं है और उनकी employees को पता ही नहीं है कि उन्होंने किस तरह उसको आगे practice करना है, तो उसमें क्या करना है? आपने उसको find करना है, उस impact को, problem को कहाँ create हो रहा है, and then involve, integrate relevant policy and procedure. So what is the relevant policy? आप Workplace Harassment Protection Against Workplace Harassment 2010 Law Act बनाए. उसका पर्पज़ ये है कि हर कंपनी, एवरी कंपनी एंड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, वेदर इट्स सेमी गवर्नमेंट, गवर्नमेंट, पब्लिक, प्राइवेट, सोल प्रोप्राइटरशिप, नीड्स टू हैव a code of ethics policy, needs to have internal inquiry committee. So you are integrating the relevant policy and procedure, you put in these policy and procedure in every organization, and then you are developing human rights programs. So you develop these programs, you make sure all your employees are aware, they are being trained, they are regularly aware of what their rights are, what is what, for example, a woman is harassed, what are the issues that she can what is bullying, what is threat, how the meaning of harassment. Then she should be trained and should be guided accordingly, that where should she go, what is a grievance policy. And then thirdly, very important, you should institute new incident report requirements. So in a lot of multinational company, there is a incident report requirement framework in place, and that happens in a lot of organizations, multinational companies, not local companies, and you need to institute that. That means कि जब भी आपको कोई complaint आती है, you put in that in a portal, and then you can track it down, that within how many days, for example, you have gone to the committee needs to make a decision, the committee needs to do investigation, how long audit is taking, how long the due diligence is happening. So that's very important. And lastly, you need to track and monitor the problem. So you track and monitor screening. For example, this should be an ongoing process. You should screen. You should have things that are in place which is actually going to help you the track down the problem, and then the problem should be solved in a manner that should not be repeated. So this is basically the crux of what exactly human rights businesses, how organization is actually affected, and every employee who is working in an organization has the basic fundamental right, and which needs to be practiced. So in Pakistan, we have a NAP policy being formulated, which is a 5-year plan, and it's going to be implemented, and it's working towards how there should be execution, implementation of these policies. So this is it for today. Thank you very much.